So just as like full disclosure here, I am negating last year from my ultimate like birthday years. So I'm really not turning the age I'm turning like a year behind because we're just going to forget the last year happened. It's a non-year. Yeah. Hey folks, my name is Jen, and today is my birthday. Really, it technically isn't, but it will be my birthday when this video comes out, so hey! So for today I decided to do a book tag video. I found this tag. It is the birthday book tag. So the original poster of this tag, it looks like the creator is Antonia of AlwaysBooks. I do not have that video because either her channel doesn't exist any longer or the video got taken down, but I do have the link to the video I watched, which is AlwaysBooks posting of it. So I'll still credit the original creator and I'll just post that link to AlwaysBooks video down below. Okay, so let's just get into the questions. So the first question is, birthday cake. What is a book with a plot that seems cliche, but you adore it anyway? So there are a few books that come to mind that have a somewhat cliche plot, but what really stood out to me when I was thinking about this was the Chronicles of Perdane series by Lloyd. This has a lot of cliches in its plot. We've got, you know, a romance that you know is going to happen, chosen one things, you've got like cliches with the big baddies, you have cliches with battles, cliches with like characters who you know are gonna end up dead. There's many elements of the plot to this series that are kind of cliches or used, like tropes that are kind of overdone. But at the same time, this was a series that was written back in the 60s, I believe, so you know, you could argue that it wasn't a cliche at the time, but now it very much is. Even though I rolled my eyes at the characters for the first couple of books, I really started to love them by the last three, and just this series has a special place in my heart, most definitely. And it's just so endearing even when you're a little annoyed by some of what's going on. Question number 2 is party guests. What is your most anticipated book release for this year? So my most anticipated book release already happened this year, and that was Bridge of Souls by Victoria Schwab. This is the third, and I guess we're hearing final-ish book in the City of Ghosts series. And I was highly anticipating this, not only because it was the next book in the series, but also because the setting is New Orleans, and I'm kind of low-key fascinated with New Orleans since it's one of the most haunted cities in the country, so super hyped for this. So I already got my most anticipated release. If you remember from if you saw my wrap-up where I mentioned this particular book, it didn't fully live up to the hype that I had for it, but I still really enjoyed it. Question number 3 is birthday presents. What is a book that surprised you with how much you loved it? So, a book that really surprised me, I remember really surprising me at the time, was The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne. I read this for, I believe it was my AP Lit class, my senior year of high school. Being like, I think one of the only people in class that really enjoyed it. And it shocked me because I wasn't really someone that was into old classics, or what I consider to be like old classics at the time. But something about this just really pulled me in, and I really loved getting to know the characters, and I desperately wanted to know what was going to happen next, and I liked the style that it was written in, and that kind of really surprised me, because at the time I wouldn't have thought that I would end that class year thinking that this was one of the best books that we read in class. It's just new for me at the time. Question number 4 is Happy Birthday Song, a book that certainly deserved all the hype it got. My answer for this can be none other than The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. This is so good, and even though I was hyped for it, even surpassed my hype for it. It is just fucking phenomenal, and I'm hoping that I can squeeze in rereading it at some point this year, but if not by the end of this year, I definitely want to do a reread of this, like, early next year. It's just so beautiful and lyrical, and the feels in there, and I just connected so much with the contents, and I just loved it, and the writing itself is just, I have like notes in here. I actually took notes, which is the first time that I've done that to a book in a long time, so yeah, I just loved it. Question 5 is Happy Music, a book with some very beautiful and truly memorable quotes. So I have been keeping a little bit of notebook. I'm behind. I'm definitely fairly behind with my notes, but I've been trying to keep like a collection of some of my favorite quotations from books as I'm reading them, and I have a lot of books that I could pull from for this. Like, this destroyed me. Some of the quotes in there. Persuasion, I got some really gorgeous quotes. Anything by Amy Tan, wonderful quotes. Julia Alvarez, amazing quotes. But I think the quotes that most come to mind for me when I'm thinking like, damn, that was good, have to come from Terry Pratchett, and more specifically like the Tiffany Aching series. We Free Men has a lot of quotes that I really like. Let me see a couple of them. A character says to the main character, Tiffany, "Zoology, eh? That's a big word, isn't it?" "No, actually it isn't," said Tiffany. "Patronizing is a big word. Zoology is really quite short." It's just so sassy. And this one is, this is what her Graham told her. "Them as can do has to do for them as can't, and someone has to speak up for them as has no voices." It sounds rough, but it's just like, this time it had been magic, and it didn't stop being magic just because you found out how it was done. Or this one. This one's like particularly great to me. "Witches have animals they can talk to, called familiars, like your toad there." "I'm not familiar," said a voice from among the paper flowers. "I'm just slightly presumptuous." Or this one, which I love because I feel like I was this kind of child for a while there. If I'm remembering correctly, this was written about Tiffany, the main character. "She'd read the dictionary all the way through. No one told her you weren't supposed to." I love those quotes because I love how there's like beauty in it, but then there's also a lot of humor that I find particularly delicious, so yeah. Question number 6 is Getting Older, a book that you read a long time ago but you think you would appreciate more if you read it as a more mature reader. For this one, I would have to say I did really enjoy this as a teenager, but I do have it on my TBR again because I want to read this now as an adult and see how I feel about it. I think I'm still going to love it because I do love Nathaniel Hawthorne's writing style. But yeah, I'm interested to see how I look at it now. And another one I would have to say, I think, is The Color Purple by Alice Walker. I read this, oh, how old was I? I think I read this when I was about 15 or so, and it's definitely a rough read because there's a lot of abuse that is in here, and I know that it was a lot for me to handle at the time, but I still enjoy the writing. There's a lot of beautiful writing in here, but I'm sure that even though I had been reading at that point romance novels and knew a lot about how, you know, people get intimate, or things like that, I think that a lot of that, and I think a lot of things that were mentioned in here that have a little darker tinge to it, I think kind of went over my head, so I'm interested to see how I read it now as an adult who knows more, has heard more, seen more, experienced more, and yeah, I'm just kind of curious to see how I will read this now as opposed to how I read it back then. And I think that having, you know, experienced things in life, I feel like it is possible that I will appreciate overall this story more than I did as a younger person. Last question is Sweet Birthday Memories, a book that kept you incredibly happy during a sad or demanding period of your life. So I feel like I might have mentioned these previously, like maybe this year, maybe last year or something in another book tag or whatever. But there are, strangely, two plays that I have reached for in the past during particularly upsetting times. Like, I know when I had moved to Massachusetts, was feeling kind of mixture of anxiety and sad and homesick and everything. I reached for this particular book, and then again, strangely, when one of my grandmothers passed, I also reached for this book. I don't know why, because it's quite depressing, but for some reason this was what I reached for. Maybe not keeping me incredibly happy, but at least keeping me kind of comforted. And that was Hamlet by William Shakespeare. Again, why I needed this, I don't know, but I did. It's just something about his words, even when I have to look at the footnotes for every line, that are comforting, or were comforting to me at those particular periods of time. So, another one was The Skin of Our Teeth by Thornton Wilder. I have read this a few times now, once in high school, once in college, and then I read it again last year. And this was, again, what I reached for, like at the start of the pandemic when things felt hopeless and crazy. Little did I know how much worse it was going to feel as the year progressed. But this was just what I reached for. And this one's more obvious. And again, it wasn't so much making me incredibly happy, but being kind of comforting and making me kind of happy. There is also a lot of humor within here, but there is also this kind of hope that humanity will fix their shit kind of thing. This was kind of written I believe at the time of World War II, when things looked incredibly bleak and hopeless, and was like, hey, we're gonna make it through because we've always done it before. Look out throughout history, we've always survived and we've always picked up the pieces and made something even better. So yeah, that's why I particularly picked this up at that time, and it did at least make me feel better at the time. So that's it for this tag. I hope that you guys are having a great day. As I'm filming this ahead of time, I'm hoping that my birthday was a great day. But anyway, thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next video.